Welcome to the Dental Implant Practices Podcast, where each episode will explore how to integrate dental implants into your practice and into bone, with your host, Dr. Philip Gordon.
Most of the people here are here either because they're friends or they're sponsors that I use their goods, and or they just wanted to see me fail. So I appreciate you guys all being here. The sponsors that I have brought into here are all people that I like and trust. And so this event couldn't have happened without them. You know, my goal for this event was just to bring people together. And that's been the goal for the things that I've been doing, to share the passion of implant dentistry, which is my passion. And this event couldn't have happened without the sponsorships in the back. So I encourage everybody to at least get to know them and see what they have to offer, because they were invited here for a reason, not just for the sponsorship, but because I believe in what they do. So the rules today, there's just a couple quick rules. First rule is the same as Fight Club. We do not talk about the Implant MBA outside of here. No, but all things aside, I didn't allow a lot of time for bathroom breaks, not a whole lot of time for lunch. I want to keep things moving today. The tours yesterday went great, but today is where the learning is going to happen. So I'm going to cram as much content as we can in as little time as possible. Like I said, I will wrap it up at the end. So if anybody has any questions at that point that they want specifically for me to answer, I will do that at that time. And the lectures today, I wanted to condense them down to like TED Talk presentations. So if you're wondering why such great speakers getting such a little bit of time, it's because everyone here has so much to share, but we only have so much time to do it. Everybody here that's presenting could probably do 2 or 3 days of lecture themselves, but I wanted to get everybody's their best ideas out there and get going. So that's what the idea of today is, to get people's best ideas out of them. Like I said, everyone here, I think I have placed and used all of the products on here. I think I use everything that's here. The mobile 3D imaging, I do not, because I'm not local, but they're a good group. So if you are local, check them out. Cone beam imaging, all that is hugely important in implant dentistry. So if you need a good imaging system, check them out. I don't take any money from any companies, so I don't have any disclaimers or anything that I need to tell you about ahead of time. So everything up here is just my own work. And I make my money treating patients, as most of you do. So that's the goal for this today, is to figure out how to treat patients, how to make implant dentistry profitable and fun. Yeah, those aren't mine. Yeah, no, that's a picture. So I don't ever deal with that much cash. My goal for this event is to provoke change for dentistry, for the positive, for the general dentist to take a leading role in implantology. So I am not the best implant dentist in this room, probably never will be. That's not the goal for what I'm trying to do for today. I'm trying to kind of bend the culture and break through the barriers. That's why I started the podcast. That's why I started the Facebook page. That's why I try to do the things that I do. It's not to say that I'm the best at these. It's to say that I've been down a path. I know others are going down similar paths or want to go down a path, and I want to help show what those paths can be and see what opportunities are out there for other people. So at the end of this, I want people to walk away and have the ability to make change in your practice. So this isn't about my practice today, this is about yours. So that's why we're here. So the magic answer, I'm not gonna tell you the magic answer today. The truth is, there isn't one. But what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna show you processes that you can put in place. And those processes, if you do them, and use the people and use the resources, are more likely to succeed than not. So it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up and doing the work. So that's what today's all about. Now, I put on here, dancing on the edge of failure is what keeps us alive and keeps us going. Implant dentistry, you're going to have failures. You're going to learn, you're going to grow. That's an important part of it. So you got to have the courage and the willingness to make those changes. Okay. Perseverance. I like to think I've never been the most talented. I'd like to think I'm the most good looking, but that's not true either. But what I've always been is someone who's willing to put the time in and do the work. And dentistry is hard work. You've got to put the time in. Implantology is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So my advice is do the work. Show up, do the work, put in the perseverance, and anything you guys want to do is possible. I put on this event because when I was younger in my earlier days and I was looking for people to show me things, I would have loved to come to an event like this where I could meet like-minded people and share things and do this. I didn't know who to follow and where to go, and I spent a lot of time and a lot of money trying to figure out who to follow and where to go. And so that's what I'm trying to do is show people without 10 years and $100,000 of mistakes where to go and what to do. Everyone that I talk to in dentistry, I try to tell them, learn to place implants. Even if you're not going to place implants, learn about implants, because implants are the future for are the future for dentistry. They're not going away. So learn to place implants. That's my goal. My first implant case took me an hour and a half to place this implant, if you can imagine that. And the amount of stress and fear I remember was real. It was palpable. I was sweating. I didn't know what I was doing. I wish I had Jack Kahn in my office that day. It was actually on my father-in-law because I was so afraid I was going to make a terrible mistake that I was going to get sued. And I thought, well, my father-in-law won't sue me for free dental care, right? But yeah, it took me an hour and a half to place this. And I think, you don't know what you don't know. This is a case I did last week, and it took me an hour and a half to place these. So the journey doesn't happen overnight. This case went in an hour and a half. But I like to tell people it has nothing to do with my talent and skill. It has to do with implementing processes and learning and growing. Anybody's capable of putting in and treating this case in an hour and a half if you have the right skills and the right tools. So marketing. This seminar is Dental Implant MBA. I don't officially have an MBA. I'd like to get one. My wife's threatened me that I can't go back to school. I've told her I'm going to go back and get my MBA and my law degree and all these other things. The truth is, you need to be business-minded. You need to be, in dentistry, there's still a taboo about saying, let's figure out a way to get good products cheap, to make a profit. And, people criticize you for talking about that. But at the end of the day is, everyone in here has to make a living. We all have overhead. We all have staff to pay. So I wanted to put something together that shows people how to market implant dentistry correctly, how to bring in the cases they want, patients that are willing to pay. I'm not a pro at this, but I've done some things right and I've done some things wrong. So you're probably going to see a little bit of both of that today. All marketing is telling a story about what you're doing to people in a way that they want to give you money. So the questions you need to ask yourself is, how do you tell the story? Who do you tell the story to? And how do you create the value? A lot of implant dentistry is value creation, it's value selling. And people are buying something from you that they want. It's different than other aspects of dentistry. So my manifesto for implantology is do the work. So, do it now. A lot of things is like, I'll do it now. Push things off, I'll do it later. You've got to do the work. You need to resist the urge to do average work for average people. There's a race to the bottom in general practice these days with various elements, with insurances and DSOs and corporatizing of things. The race to the bottom is going faster and lower. You don't want to be at the race to the bottom. Implantology is a way out of that. You want to build your skills and your assets. Growing to scale, owning 10 practices and growing corporation, it's not always right for everybody. That doesn't have to be the goal. You need to do real work that matters for your patients, and they will pay you for it. So set boundaries for yourself and always be professional. Don't take it personal. These are hard lessons to learn, but they're important if you want to get to the next step. So solving the problems means asking the right questions. How we address the questions and what do people want? What do they want? How can you serve people? You need to be constantly asking yourself questions. And the problem is, a lot of times we're asking the wrong questions. We address things from our point of view. So when we're talking about implantology, we need to address it from the patient's point of view. What do they want? Learn to ask the right questions. Better questions get better answers. So I like football. So football season just kicked off. So I like to try to equate everything to football. Typical guy. You have to know what to do. You have to have a good game plan. You have to be able to do it. You have to have the skills. You have to care enough to get hit. I tell people implantology is a contact sport. You're going to get hit. And a lot of things in life, it's not about, I think it was Rocky Balboa, I think, said, it's not about how you get hit, it's if you get up and keep going. So you will get hit in implantology, implant dentistry. Are you smart enough to figure out what the right people are saying? Are you good enough to do what you need to do? And do you care enough to get hit and keep moving? Those are 3 important things that I think you need to understand. And then just do it. People have a lot of excuses. Nobody is the master when they begin. It's a journey. It's a progression. So learn that and understand that. I've made a lot of mistakes in life. I've made a lot of mistakes in dentistry. Keep charging forward. Keep growing. Keep learning. Effort is always available. So that's the one thing you can't run out of. I'm going to get into some good stuff here. I know this is a lot of overhead, but just hang in there with me. The tools. So everyone wants to look at, special equipment and fancy things these days. I love tools. I love tricks. I love tips. But at the end of the day, that's all they are, because eventually everyone's going to have those. And the things that you think are separating you today and making you special, everyone will own tomorrow. So don't think your tools are going to make you a better dentist. Don't think your tools are going to make you a better person. Eventually, everyone's going to have them. Develop skills so that when someone says, you cost a lot of money, and you can look them in the eye and say, I do, and you're going to get more than you pay for it. Because that tool never goes out of style. People are going to pay you for that tool. Your cone beam will eventually be archaic, but your tools to develop caring, empathetic, qualified, competent skills, those things are always in demand. So develop those. So accept the fact that your tools are not unique, and eventually you can say, I have a cone beam, I'm a special person, I'm the only implantologist in town that has that. In 10 or 20 years ago, that might have been true, and in 20 years, we're all going to laugh at the technology we're using now. So don't think that the technology and the tools are going to separate you. Learn to craft your communication skills, your leadership skills, and the art and science of dentistry. So put your investment in your skills and your communication. Here's some of the tools that I like, though. I do like tools. So I love my Tatum Easy Outs. I love my cone beam. I love my electric torque wrench. I love the VersaBurrs. I'm not saying tools aren't great, but always be chasing the next tool. Always be learning about new developments. And that's kind of what we have here today. We've got some people that have some really neat stuff. Get the newest and latest thing. It is an investment, but don't lean on it as a crutch. So what we need to do in our industry is establish value, right? We need to put in the ability to have emotional labor, okay? The ability to calm down a panicked client, to bail yourself out of a jam. These are tools you need to develop. When I was young in my career, I didn't have them. And the ability to get yourself in and out of situations as they come up is important, because situations will come up. And having the right team there to help you with that. So enhance your technical skills, grow into what you need to do. I took this slide. I think this is Paul Homiley's leadership communication curve. Most of you probably know who Paul is. He's a big speaker in implant dentistry. This is not my information, it's his. But I've listened to every book he has. I've read every book he has. I've listened to his audiobooks 100 times. He's a great speaker, and he knows how to sell implant dentistry. So if you haven't read and listened to his stuff, you need to learn it. But what I like about his, he talks about the leadership curve and breaking through the wall and selling high cases. So on the left, we've got tooth dentistry, and anybody can sell a crown to somebody with an insurance that's in pain. But not everybody can sell a $50,000 dual arch case, because it takes mastery and skill and leadership. So how do we get from the left side, insurance-dependent tooth dentistry, to the right side, complex care, implantology? That's what we're all going for. Along the way, you need to have, building up all of these things, you need to have patient financing, you need to have marketing, you need to have customer service, you need to establish yourself as a specialist. Those are all important things to be doing right side of the wall dentistry. Cases over $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on a daily basis. You're not going to have that having average communication skills. You're not going to get that having average staff. You're not going to have that unless you can look at a patient in the eye and tell them you're going to deliver a product. So people buying the right side of the wall over that $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 mark on trust and emotion, not information. So showing people slides and telling them about this and that and talking to them about, the details of things aren't always what they want. They want to look at you and say, I don't have teeth. I've been in an abusive relationship. I've recovered from an alcoholism disease. I've come from this, I've come from that. And so you're rehabilitating them past an emotion. You're giving them hope in the future. So learn to talk to people about that, not, the cuspid rise and the curve of speed. Nobody cares about that. So pick an industry where you're welcome. Go where you want to go. Implantology hasn't always been as welcoming to general dentists. So that's my goal, is to continue to kick through that. But go where you need to go. You don't need to please the maximum amount of people. The idea that we need to serve everybody isn't the right idea. We need to serve a smaller number of clients better. We don't need the masses. And so what big box marketing ideas like to tell you is, so you can be everything to everybody, and I'll build you a custom website or a website off the box, and you can be everything to everybody. That's not the truth. I used to think I could do that, and you're just not going to do that. And that's really not where the real payoff for emotional labor and skilled labor and financial reward is. The emotional labor is finding a small market who wants what you have and is willing to pay you for what you do well. So that's what we want to establish today. Make it clear what you do, and with your marketing message, be clear who you are. And I'll show you some of those things that I do. It's time for the boomers. My marketing is mostly directed at boomers, because that's the group I want to serve. So when I think about who I'm serving and where my marketing goes to, it's at a very specific group. It's not everyone. I'm not trying to restore 20-year-olds' mouths. I want to look at 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds who's failing dentistry and rehabilitate them in a way that they're wanting and needing the services that I'm providing. So commit to the discipline of prospecting. People always want to say, well, how do you get these cases? How are you doing what you're doing? It's not a, you don't want to be on the rise and the fall. If you wait until your work is done to go chase your next project, you're going to have highs and lows. So what you always need to do is continually prospecting work. In different areas and different markets, that means a lot of things. But you need to be constantly looking and be okay selling yourself. Be okay being an advocate for yourself. Your work's not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. You have to accept the fact that some people are going to value your work and some people aren't. Move on. That's okay. So you want to be in a category of one. And I joke about this. I just did a video shoot with Progressive Marketing here in the back last week, and the guys that came out, we were making a joke. I posted on the group. I'm not sure if anybody even watched that stuff, but I said, I want to be the king of implant dentistry in Kansas City. I was partly joking, but I was partly serious, because I want people to say in my area of town, oh, you need to go get dental implants. I don't want that. I want people to say, you need to go see Philip Gordon and get dental implants, because he's the king of implant dentistry. Now, I hope they don't actually say that, and I'm not that arrogant. But that's the goal, is to be known, and you want to be the best in the world at what you do. And what's the best in the world? The best in the world doesn't mean the world. It might mean your zip code. It might mean your corner of town. In Manhattan, Kansas, it might mean the whole state. But in Manhattan, New York, it might mean one small block. But you want to own that block. You want to own that market. You want to be in that category of one for where you're at. And so you need to define how to get there. That's the goal. Be comfortable advocating yourself and build relationships in a way that no one else can, because people are buying you for the relationships and the value that you're promising. And then you do need to be able to deliver that as well. So own your work. Be comfortable looking someone in the eye and say, yes, I can fix this. It's going to cost a lot, but you'll get more than you pay for. You need to be comfortable quoting your own fees. I have a great treatment coordinator. Most of you know her, Keely. She could probably sell anything to anybody, but she knows I can deliver it too. And if patients do look at me and say, what's this going to cost? I quote them a fee. I haven't always been comfortable doing that in my career. It took me a while to get to that point. But I value my work enough to say it's going to cost this much. You need to be comfortable doing that. And if you don't believe it and you can't project it, then they're not going to either. And so when you pull up the chair and have them meet a need with that person, you need to be able to look them in the eye and say, this is what it costs, and we're going to take care of you. Get better clients, not more clients. And so that's the goal of marketing, right? How do we get better clients? Do exceptional work, you're going to get better patients. So working harder, everybody, I talk about effort. I'm willing to outwork anybody in the gym, in the bar, whatever. I cannot drink you, I cannot lift you, I cannot run you. At a certain point, the body starts to fail, right? You can't always outwork yourself. So the goal for some of this is, do less work, get paid more. That's what I like about implantology is, it's still a segment of dentistry where you can do that. You can only do so many DO fillings in composites in a day and get beat down. But, my favorite days are the ones I showed you where I, can stick in 12 implants before noon. Go for a run at lunch, come back, have a couple of Red Bulls and check some hygiene patients, right? Those are my favorite days. It's not the days where I'm hunched over worrying about creating contacts, with DO fillings on number 30. A couple of quick concepts on it covers the network effect. So the idea is that people want to be part of the system. There's all these things about choosing the right implant and the right implant system and creating connections and things like that. You want to look at things that people are using, that everyone's using. The companies I bring in here are good companies because a lot of people use them. Are they good because a lot of people are using them, or are a lot of people using them because they're good? Sometimes those go hand in hand. You don't want to be the only one using the one thing you're doing, because there's a lot of sunk costs in some things, right? So the investment that you put into your tools and your systems, make sure they can transfer. So when I started placing implants, I started placing, I believe it was the Nobel Replace. Jack, I'm sure you're familiar with that one. So, but I was using the one with the conical connection because I started off that because the tri-lobe's dying. And why do I want to use a tri-lobe? It doesn't make sense. The conical connection seems like a better, I don't know, I didn't know anything about connections back then. And just, well, this one, shares a connection with this and shares a connection with that. So, that makes sense, I'll use that. But as you go on, you look at sunk costs. So is there something in your cabinet in your head keeping you from a better system? So what if a better system comes along, right? There's always going to be a new system. But what these companies and what these systems and what the marketing behind some of these systems try to do, they try to lock you into a system, right? They say, I'll give you the kit, and I'll give you the implants free. I'll give you your first batch for half. And then they know they've got you locked in because you're going to keep buying that lousy system because it's the only connection and the only system that works. And if you don't do that, you've got all this time and money wrapped up in a system that you can't change. There's no lateral shift. So I always tell people, pick a system that's GP friendly, pick a system that your labs can use, and pick a system that has lateral flexibility. So there's a lot of good systems that have that. BioHorizons has that. Jack Hahn's implant have that. A lot of other companies have that. It doesn't mean it has to be a clone. It just means that it can have a compatible system. So your labs can pick anything off the bench top, plug it in, and play. Because if your lab's got to go buy a $600 a button every time you place this implant, your costs go up. And then when something better comes along and you want to shift, you're going to have to spend 20 grand changing all your equipment to do so. So don't get locked in. That's what the manufacturers want to do. It's like when you go buy a Volvo and you can only get the tires changed at the Volvo place because no one else has those wrenches. That doesn't make sense, right? So buy your Toyota, buy your Chevy, take them anywhere down the street. Anybody can change the oil. So don't get boxed in. Don't let them pencil you into a corner. It's just a marketing scheme. So the idea of openness, I'm not going to beat that anymore. Keep your systems open. That was Implant Direct's idea. And they came out and they said, our stuff works just as good as theirs because our systems are compatible. I'm not going into implants today about which is the best and which is that. But that's why they took off when they did. Not only did they keep it open to buy, they kept it open platform. Ours have the same platform. Ours work too. I'm not getting into that, but the idea works. So don't get stuck sinking a bunch of money into systems that don't work. Raise the standard of care. Don't try to dumb down what we're doing in implant industry. The race to the bottom isn't one you want to win, and you definitely don't even want to come in second, right? So raise the standard of care. We want to race to the top, not to the bottom. So we want to be exclusive, right? How do we become exclusive? It's not always about the money. You want to be the best at what you do, and then you'll get paid the money. So how do we get patients to believe our service is worth more than it costs? That's what we want, because if we're providing a service that's expensive, but it's worth more than it costs, people are going to pay us for it, right? So go back to start with the why. I think that's a Simon Sinek book. 10 years ago, it's still true, right? But people need to understand your why too, and that's your marketing message. So patients need to understand you're passionate about implantology, your professionalism, your skill about implantology. So go back to that. Your core business needs to reflect that, whether it's your website, whether it's your staff, whether it's your decor, you need to come back to your why, right? So I'm going to do a quick run through. Obviously the Marvel and the comics and all that, I don't even know what the groups are, DC, but it's some people probably know that better, but I go back to the hero story, right? And I was putting this slide together. Some days I can't tell if I can relate more with Superman or Batman, because, some days you have good days and you feel like Superman, and some days you have bad days and you feel more like Batman, running in the shadows like everyone's after you. But I think every story, the hero starts somewhere, right? And we want to be our own heroes in our life. You need to be the hero in your own life. So something always happens to the hero. And then after that point, you make a choice. For me, it was, I joined my father's practice, and I thought I wanted to do cosmetic dentistry like him. And then I got to a point where I thought, this isn't right for me. I need to explore other opportunities. I need to open new doors. And so an opportunity opened for me with implant dentistry. Something has to happen, but then after that something happens and you realize this isn't my path, you have to make a conscious choice to go down a new road. So what happens to our hero? Well, it's up to you. So my origin story, I graduated dentistry in 2009. I knew very little about implantology. I knew very little about life. I knew very little about dentistry, to be completely honest with you. About 60 or 70% of what I do now in my practice is implant related. So most of my days, I'm doing most of my work on implants. I would never have expected that when I graduated dentistry in 2009. I did not want to place implants. I remember telling people I had no interest in placing implants. And today I have no interest in cutting teeth. So how do we get to that point? My goal of dental implant practice's platform is to break down the barriers for general dentists and implantology. That's been the goal for day one. Because I think the general dentist can and should be involved at the heart of implantology. So for me, where it all started, I look back at that picture and think, God, I look so young, but that's my wife and my oldest son. And, going back, it was an interesting journey. I started the podcast. Oh, okay, so I wanted to get FaceTime, right? I remember looking back at some of my old notes and I was like, FaceTime. I remember writing about FaceTime before FaceTime was a thing. And back then it used to mean actually getting in front of people. It didn't mean calling somebody on a phone and texting and being on Facebook. Remember when FaceTime actually meant you get in front of people and you put your face out there? That's where it starts. And I still think that's true today. That's why I wanted to put this event together and said, well, you can do everything online. You don't have to lecture into this. But I believe that the idea of getting in front of people and sharing your story and relating with them is important. So that's part of why I wanted to do this event, because I think that's where you truly learn. In 2010, my journey started for implantology. The first 5 years were rough, so we're not even going to go through those. But in 2015, I started the podcast. Here's me, trying to be official. Here's Gary Takis. Here's a couple of the superheroes I'm talking to you about the story, a couple of the AID faculty. So FaceTime for me meant showing up and it going to the right conventions. It means trying to get in front of the people who are the true leaders in implant dentistry and trying to learn from them. Because opening a book and watching an online video is great, but I thought I need to get in front of the right people. And so that was my journey. This is me and Chris Barrett and Michael Jackson at the Las Vegas Maxi course. So we hit the Michael Jackson experience, and unfortunately I posted this on my podium and he got more votes. So he's got better dancing skills than me, but you know what? It's okay, I still try. I still think I'm bad. So it's all right, not a big deal. You can be your own superhero in your head. My story is I bought a practice in 2014. It was a prosthodontic practice. It was a female dentist, and she was working 3 days a week. She had 2 days of hygiene, and the practice was collecting $220,000 or $240,000 a year. But it was in the right part of town, and I thought, I can put some sweat equity in this thing and make it work. So I bought my pros practice. I didn't even know it was a pros practice when I bought it, to be quite honest with you. Shows what I know, right? I know a lot of things now I wish I knew then. So here I am buying it. Here's a little fall festival I used to run in my yard for the kids. Just showing, having some fun. But after that, I knew that I wanted to relocate. So I started going to every place I could, learning about practice, right? Where to go, where to learn, take the best, take the worst. The Corvette project. I was trying to grow my patient base. I bought a 1988 Corvette and had a new patient referral program. I gave away that car to the patient at the end of 6 months who referred me the most patients. I think the person who went to Carl only referred me in like 6 patients. But I was trying. I wasn't afraid to fail. You know, the car cost me 10 grand. I'm lucky if I recoup that. But in those 6 months, I burnt the hell out of the rubber on those suckers. My kids had a lot of fun. And to this day, they still say, "Dad, I wish you still had that Corvette." I said, "Son, I do too." So here they are in 2015 there. So they're a couple years older, but you can see the excitement in their eyes. They love that car. And it was a lot of fun. But you know what? I heard somebody did it once. I thought, I can do that. This will grow my practice. It didn't work. That's okay. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to take leaps of faith. So I knew my practice lease was running out, and I thought, you know what? I need to make a move. I need to go where the action is. So I did my research. I found out the people I wanted to serve. I moved to an area of town that was highly populated with those kind of people. Who are those people? It's the boomers. It's the people with money. It's the people with wants. It's the people with desires. It's the people with need. It's the blue-collar people. Those are the people I serve. You know, people are like, "Oh, you do all these implant cases. You must be working on movie stars." I live in Kansas City, guys. We don't have movie stars. So people show up to jobs. They have money. They don't have money. They still come into my office, but they want things, and they're willing to work and pay for them. So those are the people we want to attract. So my office was in the right part of town, so I moved it. You know, everyone's got an excuse. So, my practice is in the wrong side of town. I don't have that kind of practice. Sell it. Move your practice. Move into the right part of town. Take an investment. It's a leap of faith. Do it. Because if you stay on the path you are now and you're not happy with it, where are you going to be in 10 years? 10 years unhappier is where you're going to be. Don't be afraid to take a leap of faith. You know, but take your leap of faith based on your vision and purpose. My vision and purpose was very clear. So for me, it wasn't a risk. You know, everyone's like, "Well, you're crazy. You're going to pay this off. You got that. You got another kid on the way. You just give away a Corvette. Why are you building a practice?" I knew it's what I needed to do, so I did it. So here's, we're building out, we're digging out. Stressful times. It's not easy building a practice. It's not easy moving a practice, especially when you got people clinging on you, counting on you. You know, it's not easy to do. Be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to take risks. What we have today, we have a beautiful office. I'd like to be able to take credit for all the things here, but I work with a lot of people smarter than me. But I went out and I toured 1 million offices, and I flew all over the country to these office seminars, and I went everywhere. And then I thought, I can do this. So build out what you want. Make things how you want it, because, life is going to pull you in a lot of directions. You have to be very purposeful with your practice. Here's my consult room, people. So how do you do your consults? I put them in a fancy room. I close the door with Keely and I walk away. And I come back and the dentistry's sold. I don't know what she does in there. But I have a nice office and I've got nice staff, so people must think I do good dentistry, right? And I'd like to believe that I do. So I try to organize everything nicely, right? So when patients come in, I'm a big fan of models. Usually the ones in swimsuits, but these are important to have too. These are from Salvin. They work great. These are the cheapest models you can get, because when you put them in front of people and you talk about bone loss, it's real. So sometimes, having little visual aids in there is great. I think some of these you can pick up from different places. I think Glidewell sells a kit like this now. You can get the all-on-4 stuff pretty easy. But, put the dentistry in their hands and say, this is an overdenture, it's plastic. Snap it in and off the model. This is the porcelain model. When I went to Jack's practice, he'd bang that porcelain thing. I think he threw it on the floor. He'd pick it up and say, this is what I'm putting in your mouth.
I wish you wouldn't do that. I said, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, you throw it on the floor and they get it. These teeth won't break. That makes an impact on people. So get the appropriate models. I think I got these from, Garg sells these. He's got some nice stuff. Veneers, Occasionally I like prepping veneers. I've never liked seating veneers. But people want to see stuff. Teeth Express. I'm not a Teeth Express provider, but I love this magazine. BioHorizons is doing a hell of a job with patient promotions. They will help you promote your business. There's me building out my office. I'm way behind. When I said be the best in the world, this is my world. Right in the middle is where my office is at. Right here. These people are my world. So that's who I want to be number one in the world. Because I don't care what people out in California think about my dentistry in Kansas City. They're not flying to see me. Be the best in the world to your people. So how do you do that? I did mailers. At first it was just to get butts in the chair. And so I call it people, this and that. And I just need a butt in the chair. So I tell my patients, whether it's, whatever, I need a butt in the chair. So first you have to kind of please everybody because you just got to pay the rent. Mailer ads can work. I've done mailer ads for generic dentistry. I've done mailer ads for implant dentistry. I've done mailer ads to get people to implant seminars. They can work, but you need to have the right team to do them right. So you just can't put any crap out there. Make sure your staff looking nice. Make sure you're sending it to the right people. It's old, it's dead, but look at the population. The population I want to serve still checks their mail. They still read the newspaper. When they get on social media, it's probably something the old people are on, like Facebook or I don't know. But I don't know what the kids do, and I don't care because I'm not treating kids. So Gary put this together for me when I did a podcast with him. He quoted me, the key to success is to do what you love, and for me, that's dental implants. So the idea for success for me is to be in implantology. That's how I base my success. So the process, you got to go through a lot of things. Suturing, you got to go through training. Here's me and Howie. Love this guy. He's a little crazy, but aren't we all? Chris Barrett, Shankar Iyer, Birva, Ray, me, good friends I met at the Maxi course. You got to show up. You got to put your time in. Here's me. It's all about the cash, right? For the first 2 or 3 years of my practice, I never took a paycheck. I turned it all back into the practice. So about the practice, they were doing $200,000 a year. I think this year we're going to do $2 million. For 3 years, I didn't take any money out of that practice. I spent it all right back in the practice. When I get a big case, I'd go put 100,000 more mailer ads out. When I got a big case, I'd put more in a Google pay-per-click. When I got a big case, I upgraded my website. So everybody wants to make the buck and put it in their pocket and buy a Corvette. All those fancies. Put it in the practice. Invest in your marketing. Invest in your skills. Those investments will pay off, right? I drive a 10-year-old car. I don't drive anything fancy. Invest in the company. Don't spin off the cash. Put it back in the company. That's how you grow your business. Invest in the people. Pay them well. Find good people. Pay them well. Hold on to them. Here's me in the implant pathways. Justin Moody, good guy. If you don't know him, get to know him. He'll show you everything he knows. We did the tour. These pictures are from a couple years ago. I've been at the Precision one many times. Zimmer Biomet Training Center. I'd like to think I've been everywhere, done everything. Like, was it Johnny Cash sings that song? I've been everywhere, man. I'd like to think I have. I haven't yet. I haven't done much East Coast yet, just because the people out there scare me. But I like the West Coast because it's fun. It's the sun. My wife, who's not here, usually likes to travel with me. She's mad at me right now because she's not here. These companies, go see them. You want to know about their implants, go see them. You want to know about what they're doing, go see them. That's why we set up yesterday. I'm trying to show you things that I think are valuable. Maybe you'll place their implants, maybe you won't. But go see them. FaceTime. It used to mean showing up to places, so show up in life. Jim Gladwell. I'd like to think if I keep buying enough Han implants, he's going to introduce me to Jim one day, but I don't think it's going to happen. I just want to get on the yacht, really, is what I want, just once. But the tour yesterday, I don't know who uses Glidewell in here. I don't know what your thoughts are of them, but I hope you learned something yesterday. Zest Anchors, great company. They're out in California, too. Go see them. They're in your backyard. Go see them. So here's me and me. I'm opening my new practice. I had a cardboard cutout made of me. I stuck it in the window right up front, just waving at people. And then I'd write goofy stuff in here. People thought I was nuts, but people walk by, they laugh, and then they come and make an appointment. So don't be afraid to be silly. Everybody wants to be uptight, and serious all the time. Here's me and Paresh Patel, and here's Chris Barrett wearing the Gordon dental glasses. You can't tell, but we needed eye protection that day, so I said, well, put on the Gordon dental shades. So I had about 500 of these shades made up, and I would just give them out to my patients. I thought, it's wraparound marketing, right? I'm always looking for something silly. I'm not afraid to try silly things. Here's me and Pei Ray, good guy. People I meet along the way. This is with the sinus meeting out here this spring. They Sinus 2.0, met some fun people. It was at the big venue. They got a bigger paycheck than I do. But we had a lot of fun. It was at the same convention. That's why I thought, I can come back here and do something one day. Dr. Minichetti, Dr. Shankar Iyer, guys that are doing a lot of good things for the implant dentistry. Great guys. If you don't know them, get to know them. If you haven't taken their courses, go see them somewhere. These guys are who you need to meet. I talk a lot. I do a lot of funny things, but these are the guys that know what they're doing. Dr. Bernie Dunson, great guy. Go track him down. He's in Atlanta. He's doing amazing things. He just opened up a new Maxi course. Here's me and Barrett. I've got a baby stroller and a baby bag. We're in Vegas. We were trying to pretend like we're doing was the Hangover movie, but I'm actually pushing a baby in here. I got my baby in Vegas at the Mexican course. This guy's in the audience here somewhere. Alvarez here. You know, just get out and meet people. Dr. Chong, me and Jack. You know, I love this guy here. Went to go see him in his office, in his old office. He's got a new office now, but he'll welcome you in his office. I wanted to see the guy place implants, you know, the legend. And, you know, he'll have, he's probably forgotten more about implant dentistry than I'll ever know. And, you know, an amazing person. Go learn from the best. Fun trip we got to take this spring, go see Dr. Hill Tatum, you know, teaching Paris. I thought, what a better way to, you know, reward my wife for putting up with me and take her to Paris. And if I can spend a week with Hill Tatum, good, you know, good for me. And I'm showing you things not to brag about this, but this is my story. These are how I've learned, is to get in front of people that know what they're doing and to try to approach them and say, can you share with me? What can you share with me? What are you willing to share? And go to people that are willing to share, because some people are willing to share and some people are not. And that's the reality of it. Find people who are willing to share, who are willing to teach, and willing to invest in you, because not everybody is. Where's it all headed? I don't know where it's all headed. My wife, here's my baby Isla, there's Ben, Jack, we got another one on the way. So 4 kids. I don't know where it's headed. But I know implant dentistry is going to be along the way. So how do you get from 0 to full-arch dentistry? You know, it's a path. You know, everyone's, you know, how do I get to doing these cases? Well, I mean, I did 1 million single implants bad before I did one right, and then, you know, did 1 million right before I did a full-arch case. So it's a journey. So the question I want to ask is, what's your origin story? I'm going to start flipping through this real quick because I'm cutting into Jack's time now. So everyone wants to get hung up on perfect.
Where are we going to go?
Where are we going to go? Everyone wants to get hung up on perfect surgeries, though, and especially now with the Facebook group I created, it's half a monster as it is a good thing now, because everyone's, oh, your angle's 2% off and this and that. Every surgery is not perfect. Life isn't perfect. Focus on doing more surgeries and getting better every day. I like to assume nobody's got extraordinary talent. I mean, there's a small niche that do. Most people get there by showing up and doing the work. So you know what? Skills are what you need to focus on. Focus on your skills. So do the hard things first. So I'm gonna skip through this. Do your job. You know, that's what Bill Belichick always says. Do your job. You know, do the hard work first. Everyone wants to come in and play around in the office. If there's marketing, if there's hard things to do, if there's hard decisions that they make them early. They make them early in your career, because if you struggle now and get through the struggles now, it'll pay off in the future. Starting a business, starting all this, is like being an architect. You need to have a plan. You need to start developing that plan before you put it in execution. So start with the plan. The dip. It's not just dental implant practices. So there's the hard work. You're going to go through periods where you don't see the return. And it's in that dip, it's in that valley where most people quit. And on the other side of the dip is the top of the mountain. And so you have to be willing to push through the dip. If it was easy, everyone would do it. It's not. How do you bring implants to market? Well, I talked about this. You don't have to be the best in the world. You just have to be perceived as the best in the world in your market. Let's define what your market is. Press past the dip. You know, you need to understand, if you're starting out and you've not placed a lot of implants, or you don't have an implant practice, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a 3 to 5 year process, at least. For me, it was. Maybe some people can speed that up for me. But you know, you need to have somebody who's in charge of helping you figure out the money. You need to be able to make a new patient coordinator. I'll tell you, so you go promise them I can do anything in the world, and I'll do it. And she knows that I can. So, because I need to be the boss. I can't worry about all the details. I need to be at the execution level. You need to have people who can run your plan for you. You need to have people who will tell you the truth. And if I'm off my game, or if I'm off my guard, my staff will call me out on it. They'll tell me. You know, you need to learn to code. Building and coding is important. I forgot a slide in here, but you know, you need to understand these things because it's always changing. But what we like to do is we like to bundle things in our office. So we have packages. I'll kind of go through some of that. Here's Row Lab. I had the video going earlier, in case you guys are curious what that was. They send you a tackle box and you slug in a bunch of implants. Great place. And it's a guided bone reduction and implant placement. So those are on implants over a PMMA 10. You know, everybody's always asking and trying to figure out what the best screw is. You know, for me, find one that works in your hands and stick with it. It's not always about tinkering with the minutia. And everyone's want to tell you that their surface treatment's the best and their micro this and that's good. Find a good system and stick with it. If you're getting good results, focus on the big picture. I love Implant Concierge. They do great surgical guides. I love Bottom Horizons because they have good products. I've seen their plant. They have good people. So give them a try. For me in my office, I like to bundle things in basically kind of 3 or 4 packages. You go into my office, you have 1 or 2 teeth missing. What's that mean? Well, you've got an implant fee, $1,800, custom abutment, implant crown. You're looking at $400 or $4,000 maybe, right? And if I need a surgical guide, that's another $500. So that's $4,500. You got some office overhead. I got my Han implants at $160, healing abutment, impression coping, custom abutment, brush crown. My cost's $800 or $900, so I can do $3,200 in profit, right? For me in my office now, that's 30 minutes placing the implant, and 20 minutes that's getting the patient numb. So this is a profitable procedure. This is what we need to get to. We need to get this down to a profitable procedure, because if you're using the wrong companies and you're taking too much time, you won't make any money at it. Because for the first couple of years, I was placing no bell. Then it took me 2 hours to place an implant. You think I was making any money? I do 4 implant locator over dentures. I don't do 2. They rock. Patients come in, they say, you said this was going to stay still, and it doesn't. It still rocks. So I don't even offer 2 locator implant dentures. I do 4 implant over dentures or 6. I do 4 on the floor or 6 fixed. I don't do 2. People want solutions. They don't care what, they want their teeth snap in. When you tell them you're going to give them an implant denture, they assume it's not going to move. So my profit, I charge, we're charging close to $17,000 for these, which is a whole bunch of money for teeth that are still plastic, and I get that. But, you can make $13,000, $14,000 in these cases, and there's a lot of these people walking around out there with bad dentures who are willing to pay you that. If you're taking someone from teeth to over dentures, they're going to be disappointed. If you're taking somebody from dentures to over dentures, they're going to love you. So find the people who have bad fitting dentures, upgrade them to over dentures, you're their hero. If you take them from teeth to over dentures, they're going to always be disappointed. I don't do a lot of mill bar locators. They just cost too much. I don't do a lot of 4 implant over dentures or hybrids because teeth break off. I don't do hybrids. I don't even offer them. I do brush or full arch prosthesis. I don't care what kind of porcelain you use, Pertals, Zit-Town, whatever, I don't care. Porcelain. Tell them it's fixed. Tell them it's going to look good. Tell them it's not going to chip. Tell them it's not going to stain. Patients where I'm from, they don't ask me what implants I place. They don't ask me what kind of porcelain I use. They say, does it stay in the mouth? Does it come out? Is it plastic? Is it porcelain? We charge close to $25,000, which, might be low, might be high, I don't know. It's where I need it to make my profit. I've run through my numbers. That's what I charge. I know what my time's worth. I know what my costs are. That's what I've got to charge to make money. And let's not pretend like we're not in the business, right? We all want to serve people. We all want to help people. But I don't see, is anybody in here working at non-for-profit? Is anybody in here working for a government agency where you get paid to do nothing all day? I don't think we are. That's why we're here. Try something new. Don't be afraid to try something new. You've got to take a leap of faith every now and then. This is from the photo shoot we did. It's not going to work because I'm showing too much of my hairy chest here, but you've got to have a great team. You've got to invest in the right people. This guy right here. You've got to have the right team. I can't do any of this stuff with my lab like this. I don't pretend to do it. Everyone's making their own guides and this and that anymore. I love it. It's great. It's fantastic. It's not for me. I find the right team. I know what I can do. I know my skills. I put the right people around me, and I stay in my profit zone. That's what I do. If you like to make guides, go for it. If you like to make your own implants, I don't care. It's not what I do. Put the team around you. You need to succeed. Get people you can trust. Pay them well, and it pays off. So be the captain. Implant industry is changing, and it's sliding. Some of it's sliding in the wrong direction. Be the captain of your own crew. Be the captain of your own ship. So don't be allowed to take risks. Don't be afraid to take risks. The referral system, there's a lot of things broken about the old referral system. We won't go into that. That's why I place implants. That's what motivated me to place implants, the brokenness of the referral system. It's not that they weren't being placed right, it's patients weren't getting it done. Most of them don't go to the referrals. I looked up a study, 50% of people don't even go to the referral. Another 25% of that don't go through the treatment. And then it's just a trickle down. Patients weren't getting implants. So I thought, you know what? I need to do it. Do work that matters. I can't do fillings all day, every day for the rest of my life. I want to do something more significant than that. Implant dentistry can help change people's lives. Customer acquisition. How do you bring in the right customer? What's your feeder channel? That's what you need to be asking yourself. I can't tell you exactly what's going to work for you. I can tell you what works for me in my market, but you need to figure out, things that you're going to go through struggling with as you're going through this journey is, will these things work, and is this what I'm supposed to do? And there's a lot of times I was going through my journey, I didn't know if any of this was going to work. I didn't know if it was going to be right for me. But you got to believe in what you're doing. And you got to be willing to ask yourself the hard questions. I don't know if it's going to work, but just because other people are buying a bunch of offices and trying to spin them off and sell them to corporate tenure, it doesn't mean you have to. It's not the model I'm going after. I mean, that's great, and everybody wants to talk about, owning 15 practices these days. It just sounds like 15 problems I don't need. For me, have the hard conversations early. Whatever decision you're going to make about your practice, there's going to be compromises. Just know what those compromises are and be willing to deal with them. Start with your why. I think we went through that. Here's the secret formula. That's all you need to know about marketing. So, these are the people I want to serve. What pond are they swimming in? What am I putting on the hook? But it's not just about hooking them, because I want to take them to the top of the mountain. The top of the mountain for them might be a lot of different things. It might be chewing with function. It might be smiling for their wedding. It might be having teeth for a lifetime. But this is the secret formula. So you need to start with, who am I trying to serve? Clearly define that. Figure out where they're at. Are they in newspapers? Are they in Facebook? Are they in those nice papers that the city makes, with the hot foods and whatever? Are they, where are they? I don't know where they're at in your city, but figure out where they're at. Find somebody who can find that for you. Have the right kind of bait to put in front of them. Because people are buying these kind of dentistry on emotion. Like we talked about. Old media versus new media. So there's direct mail. Sometimes that can still work, but is it email? Is it Facebook? TV, YouTube, radio, podcast, newspaper, blogs, media channels. They're changing. Always be evaluating. Where are the fish in the pond? Are they still in this? Some of them are. Some of these are old, but they still work. So it depends on your target. Benchmarking. There's always asking about these various benchmarks. You need to look at your benchmarks. Click-through rates. I think the average click-through rate for healthcare on Google Ads is 3.4. Some of my ads are there. If they're working, I keep them working. If not, I take them off and put money where they're working. So ideas are like riders, right? They need a medium to be traveled through. So the medium is the channel to put them on. So we need to define, is this a good idea, and what are you connecting it to make it travel? Those are two things you need to look at with your marketing. So another thing about implant dentistry, there's an old study years ago about the marshmallows, and they put kids in a room. I think they were kindergartners, and they put a marshmallow in front of them, and they said, I'm going to leave the room, and I'm going to come back in 5 minutes, and if you don't eat the marshmallow, when I come back, I'm going to give you 2 marshmallows. And so, obviously, some of the kids, were very, if anybody has kids, kindergartners, some of the kids ran away and ate that marshmallow as fast as they can. And for me and my kid, that'd be Jack, and he'd grab that thing right out of my hand and eat that in 2 seconds flat. And then there's the other kids that sit there and stare at them and knew that if they just had the patience, that they could 2 marshmallows in 5 minutes when they came back in the room. And so then they followed them for 40 years, and they found out the ones that didn't eat the marshmallow were more successful, had happier marriages, went to higher Yales and all this and that. But in our careers, a lot of you early on in life did not take the marshmallow. That's why you ended up going to dental school. That's why you ended up getting through dental school, because it's delayed gratification, right? And I'd like to, they want to relate that to being smarter and whatever. But I kind of look at this and say, where I'm at in my career now, I want to tell everybody in this room, you've already done that. You've already put in the hard work. I urge you to eat the marshmallow now. And it's not about punting till later. It's about, we're in an ideal circumstance here with implant dentistry. There's an evolution and an opportunity going on with implant dentistry right now. So take it, grab it, seize it, because we're at the right time. And I don't know if in 10 years the implant marshmallow is going to be there. Maybe corporate's going to find a way to grab that too. But my recommendation would be to grab the marshmallow. So is this going to work? Is this what I'm supposed to do? I don't know. I don't know if what we're going to do today is going to work for you in your practice. But what I can tell you is the processes you can plug in place are more likely going to work than they are going to fail. So have the courage to step out on the limb, to do the risk, to do the hard work, to get in front of the right people. And what I've tried to do today is put the right people in front of you. So everyone coming up after you are the people you need to connect with today and learn from your peers. So the goal for this is to put people in a community together of learning and sharing where we can better our lives and better our practices and better our families. So that's the goal for today. I'm going to wrap it up, Jack. I'm sorry I took 20 minutes of your time, but we're going to get back on track. I think that's the end of my slides here today. I will pass it off to Dr. Jack Hahn. He's going to talk about everything. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jack Hahn, and thanks for being here today.